Territory, FCT Abuja, LEA Local Education Authority schools are government-run primary and junior secondary schools. The FCT Universal Basic Education UBEB manages these schools, and there are 559 primary schools and 159 junior secondary schools under the FCT UBEB, including nomadic schools. 18 minutes past 11. Good morning. This is another edition of Perspectives on Capital FM 92.9. Like I promised last week, we're here for another edition which basically looks at trending issues in the country. Our guest helps us make sense of the issue at hand for better understanding. And for today, three guests share perspective on the recent pronouncement by the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike to do a 10% direct deduction from area council's account to check incessant strikes by teachers in the Federal Capital Territory, among other options. While online news I read says the minister did not explicitly say it would deduct 10%, KFM FCT correspondent Remy Johnson confirms to me that the FCT minister did say if the area councils don't sort the problem out, it may be forced to do deduction as it can't continue to watch the students stay at home. So it's no news that on the average, teachers of public primary school and secondary schools embark on strike at least once every academic season. Same for the tertiary institutions owned by state and federal government. The implication of this unhealthy development on the standard of education generally is quite disturbing. The minister, apart from announcing plans to withhold 10% of the statutory allocations FCT area councils, also described the situation as embarrassing and criticized the area councils for neglecting their responsibilities despite having received funds for wage payments. It will be recalled that both primary school teachers and area council workers have been on strike since March 24, 2025, over the non-implementation of a 70% new minimum wage by the council chairman. So how viable can this option of withholding allocations of government agencies, institutions, and departments to pay workers promptly be towards enhancing the welfare of workers? Sharing perspective on these are former member of the State and National Executive Council of the Nigeria Union of Teachers. He is the FCT National Representative and a retired head teacher, Malam Gimba Shiu. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Came quite early. And also, we have in the studio Dr. Adeniyi John, founder and president, Global Scholarship Trust, and a retired director, special duties, NOA headquarters, Mete Edekobe. Gentlemen, thank you once again, Mr. John.
Good morning.
And Madam, you're welcome to the
Thank
show.
you.
Okay, Miss Mete Edekobe is now director of Manila Helping Hands with interest in women, youths, children, and the disadvantaged. So we have to have her today because there is so much that's happening apart from schools and keeping the children at home.
Yeah.
So we'll take that from the perspective. So let's begin the conversation this way. Let's establish your perspective on the minister threatening to withhold funds from area councils over teacher strike. Is he on the right track? If yes, why? If no, why? Let's start with Malam Gimba.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here this morning. Yes, I think we'll have to look at it from two sides, the pros and the cons. When we talk of the pros, we're looking at the advantages of adopting that method. I do believe that it will surely enhance timely payment of salary to teachers and other benefits. And with that, it will help to check the likelihood of strike by the teachers. Also, it can enhance improved teacher morale.
So you're for it?
Yes, I
If
am
it gets
for
to
it.
that, if they don't sort it out.
Yes, because as at present, the primary school pupils
are still at home.
home. Why should it be so?
So, Dr. John, what's your take on that?
All right, thank you. Why I commend the minister's position, in taking deducting directly from the source, from the area council's account, just to be able to salvage the problem. I want to say no, that is not right. Because we need to get things right as a country, even though there are issues. This is a tripartite issues between the FCT administration, the teachers, the NUT, and three of them. So they need to sit down. Don't forget,
LEA, not the NUT.
The LEA.
Yes, that's the local education authority who pays the salary.
So they need to sit down. Don't forget that local government are autonomous when it comes to administration. So the minister does not have that power, to deduct from the source.
Even in the face of this challenge?
Yes, it does. And if he must do that, it has to pass through some legislative procedure before he can do that.
Well, what's Madam going to say?
I want to say that maybe speaking as a parent or a concerned Nigerian, that when the local council chairman refused to pay teachers their entitlements and salaries, even though they were given the allocation, I don't think they went through any protocol to do that to the teachers. And so, in as much as we celebrated with the local government when they gave them financial autonomy and said they should spend their money themselves, not by the state, or not through the state, we all celebrated. And now they are doing something that is not right. You were given everything, and yet you refuse to do what you were giving money for. That is being irresponsible because, one, you are in that office on trust, and the staff that you have deprived of their salary are human beings. You were not deprived of any salary. I'm sure they are living life the way they want. So I would say that in leadership, somebody must stand and take responsibility for something that is going wrong. So if the FCT minister says, this is what I'm going to do, and is going to work and give the teachers what is due to them, I would say yes. The only place that one might become concerned is if he takes the 10% and nothing happens, then it means what he's trying to correct, he has also done. But if not, I believe strongly that since they did not see the responsibility given to them to pay teachers their salaries and entitlements, I think going forward, somebody should straighten them out. And if that's what the minister wants to do, beautiful, because our children cannot stay at home as long as they've done, and then going forward, they should all go back to school, and teachers should go back to the classroom, because that's all the salary and earnings they have.
I want to stay with Dr. John. You are of the opinion that this shouldn't be done because of the autonomy. So also is somebody who sent in a message on a Facebook page and says they have autonomy to do whatever they want. You're also suggesting that probably if he's going to do that, a channel also has to be followed.
Yes.
Why say a channel has to be followed?
Yes. Let's not forget that ab initio, particular money was released, 4-point-something billion naira to them. So where's the accountability and transparency?
To the local government.
To the local government. So that is the first thing the minister should do. Where's the money that I gave you? How did you spend it? Come out, come together, call the civil society, let's do auditing. Find out how you spend this money. And if it has been diverted, let's hold them responsible. There are laws. So you don't leave that and say you want to deduct another money. What happened to the ones you have given first? Fine, we have problem. Nobody is happy about the problem. But the money, where is it? We need to know. So the government, the minister needs to come up with a system where the teachers, those responsible, and civil society, body to come together to audit that account.
You are looking at a holistic approach.
Yes.
And a lot of people are looking at
yes.
immediate solution.
Yeah. Immediate. It doesn't take rocket science. It's on seriousness of government. This thing within 24 hours can be done if the government is serious, and it starts from the minister himself. So you need to call, because you are the one superintending over them. You call for this meeting. If you call for an emergency meeting today, if you want it to happen, but because of politics, we should not use the life of our children and teachers to play politics. It's not a rocket science.
Madam Shaw seems to
you
be
see,
silent.
no nation can rise above the quality of its education.
Right.
And the primary school is the foundation of education in any nation. If today teachers are not in school and people are at home, tell me what becomes of them in the next 3, 4, 5 months. So, like the elders say, the elder will not be in the house, a goat teethed suffers in labor. If the minister deems it fit to use this short-term relief method to ensure that schools reopen, I don't think there is anything wrong in that. But then, as he is doing that, we're thinking of looking at the underlying issues. What do we do? Remember in the past, there used to be a primary school, whatever, in Kaduna, and then salaries were very prompt. All benefits were being paid properly here in Abuja and all over the nation. What happens now? Why is it that these things are no more upcoming?
The primary school seems to be the foundation.
That is it, and they are the ones who
should also, as part of holistic measure, should they also be looking at taking the salaries of the teachers? Because this is not the first time they're going on strike.
Exactly.
So should they pull that out? Because the basic, the primary, the formative stage, if it is altered,
I believe that at this point, let us remedy what is already bad. Because this local council chairmen, they are not infants. They contested the election and they came in there that they are coming to serve. And I think in one of the minister's reports, I heard him say, these are elected representatives. And that's why he has not, he has not done it. And he's speaking to the problem. But my point as a Nigerian or as a resident of the FCT is that he took the council chairman several months of taking this money that belongs to staff. And then you want us to now set up a committee, procedural activities to reclaim this money. Will you reclaim it? The money does not exist. They have spent it. They will account for it. But while they are doing that accountability, these teachers and their families must not die, because that is the only source of income they have. And our children are already facing very severe social problems. And so keeping them at home, you are only fueling what is already bad.
Right.
And so for that reason, if it is possible to get these teachers back to the classroom by paying them what is due to them, and then what you are saying, and I want to believe that the FCT minister understands all that protocols and the channels. So for him to say he's doing 10% and this is what he's going to do, I think he's also looking at, let's solve the problem where we are now, and then let's follow procedure to get these people to sit down. Now, nobody can flog this council chairman. The worst that can happen is a committee is set. You find that they have messed up the money for want of what to use, and so you now want to say, okay, let us start paying these teachers instrumentally to cover what has not been given.
I'll take a cue from what you're saying. On the network news today, in Niger and Plateau State, the teachers are actually in class, but the students are not there. They prefer to go mining because they will make money from it. And the elders and the leaders of the town are saying this is not right. They're just digging a grave for tomorrow, and it may not be redeemable if something is not done. I am looking at the city center. If this happens here, then what happens to other states who are far away? Why did the FCT minister, in the thinking of most parents, to wait till this time? It was the same story last year, same story before the FCT minister came on board.
All right, with my findings and research, I found out that even the committee has been set before now, but no results. No result. So how do we move forward? We need to provide solution.
Yeah.
And he's saying that he's going to deduct from the source, deduct from the allocation.
But with that 10% actually take care of what is supposed to
You
be
understand?
paid.
So he has that power,
Yeah,
to do, at least to remedy the situation.
exactly.
But in doing so, I want him to be very careful. That this is my position. I know there's a problem. If not, because if you cannot sustain what you want to start, don't even start. Because by tomorrow, the minister can also deduct the money for whatever reason. We know that the children at home, we know that the primary education, basic education is not well funded. We know that there's a lot of issues surrounding it. If you go to some schools in FCT now, they lack, basic infrastructures and so on and so forth. But this is democracy, and we must not shy away from it. If you say, okay, because of fine, if my somebody was lamenting yesterday that he has been paid, he will have transferred his children from public school, to private school. So it's a two-way thing. The children are suffering, the teachers are also suffering because the source of their livelihood has been paused.
You took a line of thought from me, Dr. John, and he attested to it. You will only find teachers go on strike for salaries. The deplorable state of the classroom, of the amenities, the things they're needing in the school. There hasn't been any day that the teachers go on strike. Does it not also look like the teachers are selfish at work?
Well, I'm sorry, but I would say that it is important to know that in public schools, most teachers, I know there are some differences these days, but in those days, you see teachers putting everything that they have to making things possible for the children. You understand? And so if the local government, like you said, we are a three-tier government, and this particular tier has refused to be responsible. And these are the same people, when allocation was not being given to them, and when they went to Supreme Court, we all celebrated the decision that you must give them everything. So we must not just celebrate when it is working for you. Now that you are wrong, we must also take up the whip and say, you can't continue like this, because if this is what we are going to get, why did we celebrate what was given to you? These people that you are depriving of salaries and all that, most of them are from that local government.
Right. I quite understand your line of thought, but I'm saying the teachers, we have never heard, I have not heard the day the teachers will say, we're going on strike. The benches and lockers are not enough, the environment, the toilet, the sanitary is not.
Just provide those.
I beg to disagree with you, if you don't mind.
Because it goes hand in hand.
Yes,
yes.
Here in the FCT, we've had a series of occasions that we've complained to the authority about the infrastructure in our schools. So that is one. And secondly, the teachers and every other civil servant who make the federal capital territory go to the same market with every other person.
But
the morale.
I don't want you to forget. I want us to highlight
why they are not striking when there are no amenities.
Yeah, I said I beg to disagree with that. We've letters and communication have been exchanged between the NUT and the government of the FCT, particularly the education sector. And let me just to add, that as at the beginning of this session, 2024-25 session, the FCT minister in his magnanimity, tried to rehabilitate some of these schools. I can remember Jesus Kashi and so many other schools, secondary schools and primary schools too.
That was actually done.
Yes,
because I saw a report that is saying calling out the minister and saying if he did, he should.
He did it. Okay. You can make further research on that.
In Gwagwalada and where?
I remember in Gwagwalada, Jesus Kashi.
Beautiful.
And many other, even with primary schools too. So if this has been done, I think it has the plan to do better and more on that. But let me tell you, you see, the teachers' morale, I keep hammering on that. The teachers' morale and motivation are very paramount in the education sector of FCT. So if every other civil servant is paid what the government asks organizations to pay, why the early teachers not being attended to? Why should it be so?
But,
I think we need to look at that.
the issue of
So much as we want to blame teachers maybe being on strike, we have to look at their own welfare as well. And what is the government doing to address the underlying factors? What brought about this? Certainly, the responsibility of teachers' welfare, salaries, and other benefits rests with the area councils.
Yeah.
But are they being given enough to take care of this by the government? I'm talking about the federal allocation to them.
That even gets to them.
That
We're not
gets
too
to
sure
them.
if it's enough.
I'm not sure it's enough.
Because I'm looking at if it's 10%.
If it's enough, then there should be no
the
any external
70
intervention.
The 70,000 minimum wage they're talking about, I'm not too sure if it's the first one or it's the second, or they have a cumulative amount. Will the 10% even take care of it?
Unfortunately, the local government or the states are not working on data.
Okay.
You see, when you just wake up one day and say this is what you want to do, so that's where we find ourselves. Somebody can just travel to Finland now, come back and this is what is happening in Finland. I'm going to do it here. Copy and wrongly paste it. The issue of infrastructural deficits in our schools, most especially in FCT, is highly worrisome. You just mentioned that we have over 500 and something schools.
29?
Alhaji said that they rehabilitated some classroom. I don't know what percentage, whether 1%, whether 2%. I want you to travel around the FCT. I'm not talking about the major city, Abuja. I'm talking about satellite towns. Go to Karu, go to Buhari, go to those places. That is on one side. The second aspect that you have actually echoed is the issue of the teachers' morale and training. Public school teachers are, discouraged. They go to school hopelessly because nothing is inspiring them. The environment, the conducive learning environment is not inspiring them. The tools that they need to advance their career, they are not there, and they are most qualified.
Yeah.
Because no public school teacher will be employed without having a TRCN certificate, and no public school will engage any teacher without right qualification, not even employing the quack teachers.
Yeah.
Then what is the problem? And don't forget that the government also have an oversight functions going to some of these schools to do their quality assurance, accreditation, and so on and so forth. And when they come back, what happens? They give pass mark that these schools are okay. But they hammer more on private schools. That private school, you need to improve on this. Why the government schools, they are not actually paying attention to it. My recommendation, just like we have in tertiary education, where we have TED fund, I think there is high time for a special funding should be designed, for basic education.
We'll pick up the conversation after this time out. If you're listening to us, the program is Perspectives on Capital FM 92.9. We'll pause for a moment, and after the break, the line will be open for you to take on the issue at hand, especially I want parents of concerned students to give us a call on what they will suggest as alternatives to solving the non-payment of teachers or implementation of decisions arrived at. In the meantime, I have in the studio with me a retired Director of Special Duties, NOA Headquarters, Mete Edekobi, former member of the State and National Executive Council of the Nigerian Union of Teachers, and a retired ed teacher, Madam Gimba Shehu Al-Hassan, and Dr. Adini John, founder and president, Global Scholarship Trust. Please stay with us on Capital FM. There are options also that some of my guests, particularly Dr. John, has raised before we went on a break on how to find something more than salaries, concerns, trainings, some other developmental programs for the teachers. Let's pick it up from there because it seems everybody seems to be on that page. Apart from the welfare, what else can they do to the teachers? FCT, local government authority, concerned citizens will probably want to do a public-private partnership with government. How can they come in to better the lot of the primary school teachers in particular.
Okay. So please, can I speak?
Please continue.
Okay. We have FCT Scholarship Board. There is FCT Scholarship Board that have the responsibility to finance, to give students scholarship, to give teachers scholarship for training. What are they doing? I've tried to engage them personally to see how the act that established them, that says that at least 2% from companies in the FCT, should be remitted to their accounts so that they'll be able to take care of the education
Whose
of
account now?
to the FCT Scholarship Board
What?
to be able to take care of the indigent and indigent students of the FCT, most especially for basic education. So what is that agency doing to see that they can harness all the resources, financial resources from the companies, in FCT to be able to support the basic education? So if you have the pool of fund and we have a trust like TED Fund, for basic education, we know that annually from the 500 and something schools that you have mentioned,
559.
559, if it is just 100 per year, for intervention, we want to train 5,000 teachers today on 21st century way of teaching, because many of them cannot even use digital tools to teach. Because if you don't have some of this training, you cannot deliver. So there is need beyond budgetary allocation. There must be a special intervention, not necessarily coming from the government alone, private sectors. And that is why FCT Scholarship Board is there, so that private and private companies in the FCT can contribute to that pool of funds.
So the FCT Primary Scholarship Board can take care of all.
Exactly. They have been doing the little they can do.
You don't seem to agree, Madam Chair.
I think that this scholarship board essentially is established for students in maybe post-primary and tertiary institutions.
So what happens to
Now,
the
we're
primary?
looking at the primary schools.
Okay.
However, I want to believe that if there is a collaborative effort engaging the teachers and the policymakers, bringing teachers as decision-making body in the education sector.
Policy design.
Yeah, I think this will go a long way in helping the situation. And this also will allow for training and retraining of teachers, even workshops, step-down workshops to area council level, or even satellite town level, zonal level, so to say. This will help the teachers also in doing their job as it's supposed to.
Would you also be advocating for a roundtable, a town hall meeting for the teachers?
Yes.
Because you can't decide
Yes, parents.
for them what
No,
they
parents
want.
are also stakeholders in this matter. Of course, they should come in. I remember there is a certain body known as SBFC, School Based Management Committee, established in schools. I think Dr. knows about that. If the government hampers so much on this and promotes it, that will go a long way also in helping the situation. Because the parents will be directly involved, the pupils will be directly involved, artisans within the community will be directly involved. And I think they will come up with something very relevant.
Just to add to what you just said, I think parents too are also doing a lot through the association, PTA. Most things that happen in our public schools are being championed by these parents.
Yeah.
Even to doing little things. At a point we're actually exposing, at civil society level, some public schools that still request from students to bring A4 paper, before they can be admitted. So there are a lot of.
Please, I want to challenge the teachers. What have they done apart from going on strike to let the public know the deplorable state of things?
One second, ma'am. This strike action itself is not. It's always the last resort.
I know it's the last resort, but I'm
It's
looking
the
at
last
what has
resort.
been. It's always what people say. It's the last
That
resort.
is it.
What other measures have they taken to push this to the face of whoever needs to hear them and to be consistent
Yeah,
about
but
it?
they've
But
always
you also
engaged the
know
authority.
that, but when you keep pushing that, they are civil servants. The teachers are civil servants.
So there are limitations.
Yes, there are. you report in seniority. You report what is going on. You don't want to, and then the hierarchy like that. So when you say what have they done, what have they done, this is what they've done. When they come out on strike, that is the end and the be all for them. But when you want them to write and keep writing, they could indict themselves. A teacher could continue pursuing the fact that this thing is not right inside this classroom, and this and you get into trouble. Yeah. We are civil servants, so we must not forget that. It's just like you can't come out and shout that your boss, your minister is not doing what you think should be done. You can't do that. But you'll be pursuing it with your paper, with your superior. If there are people who are higher than you, you say, look, this thing needs to be done. And I'm sure every teacher, knowing what their rights and obligations are doing that. But I think when they get to this point, this is all of it. This is all they can take. Yes, this is all they can take, And then as I allude to what they are already said, in primary schools, they now call it the Committee for Parents and this. In the days that we were in early years, it could be your father that is the PTA chairman. And it means they are responsible. Parents were responsible for what is going on in the school. If there are things that the school board is not bringing, they themselves can bring it. Yes. Sometimes they go to the school board themselves, not the teachers. The parents go to the school board to challenge that this is what the school that is in our community is going through, and this is what we want. So I believe that the committee that you refer to is exactly representing both parents, teachers, and all that. And we have more qualified teachers in the public schools.
I agree.
Yes, that's true. More experienced, more exposed, because in the private schools,
they tell most parents, if you want a good lesson teacher for your child, go and take from a government.
Yes, so it means you can't demoralize these people who have come with all that they've been taught. You understand? And so it's worrisome. That's why we keep going back to the fact that something should be done so that these teachers don't become worse in terms of morals and all that. So we go back to where we started.
Let's move this conversation to a logical conclusion. My producer is asking me, aside the 10% deduction, which is a key measure, what other suggestions would you consider as options to address the situation by the FCT administration?
I think maybe
we need to highlight.
I think maybe you should continue from where you started. The committee.
Transparency and accountability. That is what is missing. You see, if you release 10%, what is the guarantee that it will not go the way the other money that was released? Do we understand?
So if he's going to deduct the 10%, and he would probably be looking at paying the money directly
to the teachers.
Yes.
Is that possible?
I don't think so. I don't see it happening.
So when he takes the 10%, how is he going to do the payment?
Then we should ask the minister. That is why I talk about transparency, auditing of the first money released, because there's no how money was released to them, and even the FCT administration is not interested on how the money is being. For the fact that they have autonomy does not mean that nobody can question them. Even the FCT administration can question them.
So does it mean that the FCT administration does not have the payroll or something like a register for the teachers to know how many teachers you even have?
You see, when you have a poor budgetary allocation, you see, you are not prioritizing education. When you are supposed to put money, you are not putting money. You can say, I don't have statistics to tell you exactly what is the budgetary allocation per each local government to education, even basic education. Because that is one thing. The interest of this local government chairman, what is it? Chairman, what is it? Do they actually have interest in education? Because if education has been prioritized, like one of them that is campaigning said, as I was coming to office this morning, it was like, we can't continue building roads in Abuja and we are not considering education. That is his own campaign distance. Maybe probably if you become the local government, you will focus more on education. So a local government, a state, a country can be assessed based on the quality of education and the teachers.
That's what somebody is saying too.
Yeah.
The FCT needs more than those good roads,
Yes.
schools, hospitals.
Mhm.
So let's go back to
That-
the
that
schools.
is,
What are the things? can
Yeah,
be
yeah.
done?
There is this popular saying that the education of all is the responsibility of all.
Right.
I mean, education is the responsibility of all. So, what do we mean by this? All the stakeholders that are responsible for the education of its citizens must put their hands on deck.
Mm.
Aside from that, NGOs also should be recruited to assist.
In doing what now?
Well, to assist in
Oversight.
funding, oversight, well, perhaps oversight, but in funding, in training, and provision of infrastructure to schools. You see, a farmer who goes to the farm without working implement will not work very well on the farm.
Right.
If the teacher has a very conducive teaching environment, has all the infrastructure in place, that the government, because the government cannot do this all by itself. And that is why you and I and every other stakeholders must come and put our hands on deck.
It seems like every other person has been doing their part. It's only the government or the local government that hasn't been paying attention.
Well, I'm also becoming worried that when we are talking about government should do this, government should do that, we have established that we have a three-tier government structure. And so if we have a three-tier and one tier is not doing what they need to do, it automatically makes a nonsense of others. And that is where we are. That's where we are right now. One tier has just not done right. So when you're saying it shouldn't be just road, are the local government, local council chairman building roads? I thought it's the minister that is doing. So who are we?
It's just a campaign.
Yes, so what are we talking about? If the minister is doing that infrastructure because it falls within his purview, and you, the council chairman, education falls within your purview, what are you doing? What are you bringing to the table to show your constituents that this is what I have done concerning education, which is within my purview? So we should, when we are discussing, we should also educate the public properly, to whom this belongs and to whom this responsibility belongs, so that we don't just becloud the conversation with government should have done this or government should have
So
done
in
that.
the meeting between now and Friday, what would you see happen?
The minister should call for tripartite meeting, and whatever comes out of that meeting should be implemented. Whether it's going to deduct, whether it's going to do whatever, it should call for tripartite meeting, and teachers should not be isolated. And I have a word for teachers. Their mindset has to also change. Self-development. Most public teachers don't develop themselves. And when they are in these issues, they try to, they
Relax.
they don't have any other skills. They should develop
When there
themselves.
is no money.
But there are
It will be
free
hard to think.
trainings online.
There are free
trainings online. The time they are spending on
So-
YouTube and Facebook,
Oh,
they
You know,
should use it.
and the
some of those,
Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria should also take this responsibility of empowering the teachers, not just taking their money to write the exam. Set up training for them, encourage, boost their morale, change their mindset.
Yeah.
The systemic failure from the government has caged them. So let the Teacher Registration Council, who send standardized exam for them, also set up programs, trainings for them from little that they make from them. Thank you.
Yes.
I want to lend my voice to Dr. T. Certainly, there should be an emergency meeting to address this matter and see that the pupils go back to school. Because we are talking of access and equity in education. The child of the poor and the rich should should have access to education. So what is the government doing? The government has to hit you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so very much for being part of the conversation this morning. That's how far we'll go. It's my prayer and wish that we won't have to sit to have this conversation again. It should be something more developmental for the primary school teachers. To my guest, a former member of the State and National Executive Council of the Nigerian Union of Teachers and a retired head teacher, Madam Gimba Shiu Al-Hassan. Thank you so much for your
It's my
wisdom.
pleasure.
Dr. Dini John, founder, president, Global Scholarship Trust. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And to the charming woman amongst us all, directors, retired director special duties, and we quarters meeting, it could be. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I can see your passion. That's it for a woman. My name is Bukky Towuru, and I'm saying thank you to you for being part of the conversation. The producers, Vijay Gina Humphrey, assisted by Mr. Kati Chairman Kiro Keke, and supervised by Chikeze Chinkata. We'll see you next Monday, God willing. Coming up next from our network service, it's the news.